Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brighton Area Schools Board of Education meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, this afternoon, roll call, please.
Mr. Conley?
Here.
Ms. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Trombley?
Here.
Mrs. Mitchell?
Here.
Dr. Krebs?
Here.
Mr. Stahl?
Here.
Mr. Myers?
Here. That moves us to the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion? Moved by Ms. Mitchell. Motion to amend the agenda. So we have
Support.
we need to support first.
Support.
By Dr. Krebs.
That's right. Motion to amend the agenda to include section 7 for action item, the non-affiliated pay increases. Item E.
All right, we have a motion to amend. Do we have a second?
Support.
Supported by Ms. Reed. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay.
That amended agenda passes 6-1. All right, that moves us to the superintendent report. Dr. Elwha. All right.
So I'm going to start us off with Mr. Johnson and Amber David Chavez from the high school. She's going to take it all. Okay. All right.
Hi guys, so my name is Amber Chavez. I am the Bryan High School Executive Board President. I'm also a 2-year leadership student. I'm just gonna go basically in order from what happened like first week of school till now. Leadership and exec board and a bunch of other clubs have been really busy working on making the first few days of for freshmen and for the whole high school really good. The freshmen got to be alone for their first day of school and just kind of like seek out the halls, see how that was. So I kind of interviewed a couple freshmen myself, and they said that it was very helpful to have the halls cleared for them for the first day. And then after that, BCom put on an assembly that was super good, helpful, informational for them. And I mean, it was memorable because a lot of funny things happened. We also had our first football game at the big house. The theme was whiteout. Everybody loved it. It was a great opportunity for like pom, cheer, football, obviously, and then family, friends, and staff. They all loved it too. So that was a great thing for us. And then our close-up class here at BHS made a bunch of posters to commemorate 9/11, and then there will also be a video going out in the morning announcements. And then Constitution Day is September 16th, so there will be an informational video about that going on the video announcements. And this week is our freshman student council election, so as executive board president, we are really excited to see who's going to be the new leaders of the school. The high school is also hosting an open house tomorrow from 6 to 8 for parents. And then for Pink Week, moving on to this week, leadership, as I said, has been working super hard for that, planning and executing events to raise money. So one goal for our school this year is to connect all the other schools in the Bryan area during Pink Week and create district-wide events for everybody to attend to. So the leadership class has been trying to put together ways that we can do that. And so we're kind of making a Pink Week extension and like opening up our arms to any other people who would like to join, or schools that would like to join us. We're going to host a pie in the face. So like the elementary school kids, Scranton, Maltby, we still have to get some approval from it. But one of our main goals is to do like a pie in the face thing. So like kids will pay like $5 to like pie their teacher in the face. What kid would not like love that? Come on. And so all of it goes back to Trinity Health Center in Bryan. All of the proceeds will go to that. And then we're also going to be doing something where all the elementary and middle school kids are going to get a bag, and then we're going to try to have them fill it up with coins for the Coins for a Cure. And obviously there's going to be a prize, so don't worry about that. We got that all figured out. Our senior student council also is starting a new tradition where we do a senior sunrise. So this past week we had our senior sunrise, and then towards the end of the year we're going to have a senior sunset. And it's going to be, it was a great turnout this year. Lots of people. There were like breakfast and a bunch of parent volunteers. That was super helpful. So that was really fun. And then we're also having our first all council meeting on September 22nd, 7 a.m. And then we're also going to be doing downtown decorating on September 25th. And that's going to be an all council event. And then the Pink Week cleanup is going to be Friday the 30th or Saturday the 1st. We understand that has to be done by noon, so we're going to work hard to get that done. And then executive board has been working really hard on creating a theme for the year, planning out decorations, and then planning out our parade, which all of you are actually invited in, and I put one of the invitation sheets on your guys' desks. So if you'd like to fill that out when you can and then just give it back to me when you have a minute, that would be awesome. So we're just trying to plan for that. So homecoming is October 8th, and the theme is Dancing in the Moonlight. The dance is from 7 to 10, and then we have our parade at 6 o'clock, and then the game at 7 on October 7th. And then so we also, something that happened in the Brighton High School, we got like new paint on the walls, new flooring. And personally, I really like it as a student. Like the neutral tones really like soothe a lot of, the stress and anxiety that goes into high school. But the neutral tones really helps, and having that in the cafeteria and the floors is great. It brings comfort. And then also stir fry is back. And all the students are excited. Like the other day I went to get stir fry, and I was like there my entire lunch line, my entire lunch, because the line was so long. So that was fun, but we really missed that. So we're really glad that it's back. And then we actually have our senior student council has a surprise for everybody. And not only is graduation going to be on the football field this year, we're going to try to do it under the lights. So there's going to be like a sunset. It won't be as hot for parents and students, the black gowns. So that's kind of hard. So we're really excited for that. And do you guys have any questions that I can answer? Yes.
First off, thank you for coming and filling us in on what's going on. Certainly appreciate it. You did a very good job.
Thank you.
A couple things. The stir fry line wasn't open last year, was it?
It was not.
Not at all. And students missed it.
There was like one day.
They missed it, didn't they?
Yeah.
And
We
it goes
really
to show
missed it.
this year why, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Believe me, I tried last year to get it open, and for some reason it wouldn't open.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're really excited that it's back.
One other thing, I've had an opportunity to spend some time at St. Joe Infusion Center
Okay.
over in Brighton.
Okay.
There's a huge check over there that says like $38,000 made out to St. Joe. But you know what? Not one spot on that check does it say Brighton area schools or Brighton area students.
Really?
Really. Nothing that recognizes Brighton other than Dr. Outlaw's signature on there. There's
Oh,
nothing that recognizes you kids for out doing what you've done.
right.
And
Yeah,
I'd like
that's
to
my
see
notes.
something, or at least ask St. Joe or somebody to make sure you guys get the proper recognition that you deserve for
Okay.
going out and doing this and raising the amount of money that you do. You need to have that recognition.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then the new date for graduation was on June 10th originally, but our new contract allowed us to start scheduling. It's going to be June 9th, 8 o'clock at night. So we'll be letting all of you know, but it's just a recent development by our senior class council. So Friday night, it's going to avoid the sports and athletics that we had to count this year, and we're going to try to underneath the lights. So looking forward to see how you guys like it. Okay, thank you, Amber.
Okay, thank you again, Amber. Really appreciate it. And Amber will be back for the first half of the year. And then our partner, Josh, co-leader in leadership, will be here for the second half of the year. Bridge also as an invite. So we'll have Bridge students at our monthly meetings as well, just to get updates from the students. So thank you again, Amber, for being here. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Scaling, who's going to introduce some of our new teachers.
Thank you, Dr. Outlaw. So tonight, some of our teachers that we've hired for this year are here, and we're going to have our principals come up, introduce those who can make it tonight, and share a little bit about them. So we're going to start with Mr. McCullough from Hawkins.
Well, I think I know why Chad chose me. We have 12 new teachers this year in our building, which is pretty amazing. We have a new JK teacher, 2 new kindergarten, 2 new first grade, 3 new second grade, 1 third, 2 fourth, 1 special ed. So it was quite a year, and I just want to compliment Chad for his vision to start this process last year at the end of the year. By doing that, we were able to hit the job fairs, we were able to hit a lot of the new grads, and some of the people that were looking to maybe come to our wonderful district. So we were able to hire a lot of the best before other districts got them. So Chad, thank you for that. I think it also, they will tell you, it's nice to go into the end of the school year knowing that you have a position. They were able to spend all summer, working with their peers, working in the building. So thank you for that. On the downside of the 12 teachers I hired, if you know me, I'm a huge Michigan slappy, and 9 of them are Michigan State grads. So I don't quite know how that happened, but it did. And I do notice some of them wore their shirts to show me that tonight. So with that being said, I do have some of them here tonight. So I'm going to start with Katie McLaughlin. And Katie is one of our special ed teachers. It is not easy in this day and age to find quality special ed teachers because they're in such high demand. And so it is really nice when you can not only find someone that's interested in our district, our position, but is the quality that she is. We interviewed a lot of people, and then she walked in the door and we immediately knew that she was the one. And she's just a wonderful fit for our building. It is kind of difficult sometimes deciding if she's a 4th grader or the teacher because she looks so young, but she has just been amazing, just a great fit. So we welcome her. You can see from her shirt, she's one of the Sparties, but that's okay. We have Miss Kim Etheridge. So when you're hiring 12 new teachers, you have to really hope that you can bring in some of the new teachers that are actually veteran teachers. And we were really lucky to do that with Kim. She comes to us from, I believe, Concordia, Saginaw Valley, Spring Arbor College or University, but she was at Shepherd of the Lakes. It's really nice when you are in the interview process and you have parents reaching out to you saying, she taught my son, she taught my daughter, she is absolutely amazing, you have to hire her. So it's been nice. She's on a team where the veteran teacher on the team, it's her 2nd year. So it's really nice to have her come in with all the experience she had, and she's just been a wonderful fit. So welcome, and thanks for not being a Sparty. I have Miss Megan DeLuca, another Spartan grad. We really lucked out with Megan. As we did the interviewing, we had this large pool, and we all kind of put people in the pool and fought over who got who. And I lost the fight in the beginning to Mr. Renner, but then I actually called Mr. Renner and we needed a good fit for our 2nd grade at the time. And she was that fit. So we were able to convince her to come over. I thought it was a little aggressive. She called me and she's like, hey, I know you hired me for 2nd grade, but you got a 1st grade spot open. Can I have that? But it was really wonderful. She was a really good fit. So we're so excited to have her. And then my last person I have here tonight is Miss Alyssa Hoy. She's coming to us from Central, a long way around from Central. So, I'm always am very impressed by people that don't have it easy. That, there's some people that just everything falls in your lap. And then there's some people that work their tails off. And she's one of those people that, she took the hard route to get here. It was through her diligence and commitment and dedication that she's here today. And I will take a teacher like that any day in our classrooms with our kids. So with that is my teachers that I have here tonight. Thank you guys for giving us the opportunity. And please, the energy in our building is phenomenal right now with all these young teachers. So please stop in and see it. So thank you.
Danielle Schmidt from Spencer.
Good evening. So it has been really nice to have some other newbies join me at Spencer this year. So to have some, faces that also are kind of learning the ropes with me as we start this amazing school year. So our first teacher that is here tonight, we had 4 new hires. We actually share Katie McLaughlin with Hawkins, so that's nice. And then we had 4 new hires for classroom teachers this year. So I will start with Miss Adri Hayden. Miss Hayden comes to us from, where's Chris? Michigan State University. So I'm also a Go Blue and have only one teacher who attended U of M. But Ms. Hayden comes to us from MSU. She was actually a parting gift to me from Mr. Renner, who hired her in the fall and did, that's just one of the things that he did to kind of set me up for success this year, is to help get some really stellar teachers in the classroom. So she has been an absolute blessing in the school to our students and to our staff, and has created already a culture in her own classroom that is really unique to a very brand new teacher. So we're excited to have her on board. And then our second teacher that's here with us tonight is Jordan Salerno. Jordan is one of 3 new teachers in our 4th grade team. So we have 4 sections of 4th grade, and we have 3 new teachers in that grade level. So Jordan comes to us she has Central and then also Michigan State. And perhaps one of her greatest educational background pieces is that of a Brighton Bulldog alumni, not just a graduate of Brighton area schools, but of Spencer Road Elementary. So she has been able to really kind of come full circle, and where she started her educational career, she has now been able to launch her professional career. So we are very, very excited to have both of these ladies join us. And again, we have 2 other teachers who weren't able to be here tonight.
Dan Ayton from Maltby.
Well, we have 4 new staff, and unique to our 4 is none of them are new teachers. We have all staff that came to us that wanted to be in Brighton. Very excited to have them. The one is here today is Kelly Dickinson. She is a Michigan State alum, but this is her 13th year teaching. So lots of great experiences by way of other places in Michigan and Colorado. She's a BHS graduate, so she's coming home, which is wonderful, to bring her wonderful family here with us. We also have another new 5th grade teacher from Livonia, a second 5th grade teacher that was a long-term in our building, got to catch and keep her. And then we have another special ed teacher this year that is running our extended basics classes and has a wealth of experience. We just love to have her. So we're excited about our school year, all our new staff. So thank you.
Bill Renner from Scranton.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Borg couldn't be here tonight, so he just wanted me to make sure that everybody knew that he approves these new hires of these that we have too. So we've got Hillary Farney is coming to us from Heartland, but little known fact, she's a Brighton grad circling back. And so we're actually happy to have you back as a Brighton employee. She was here, virtual piece. Now she's here face to face, and not only as amazing teacher, as we did some hiring in the summertime. She did an amazing job. It was stiff competition in the summertime, but she came out, and we were proud and glad to have you back in here. So also a Brighton parent. So glad to have you here, Hillary. So very happy. So welcome, and then also welcome. And she teaches our 8th grade ELA. So, and Sherry Germain's coming to us from Huron Valley. She's got a couple years experience, just a smidge. I'm not going to say anything else. That's what she told me to say. And anyway, Sherry comes to us once again, Huron Valley, and we did some more summer hiring time. It was great. One thing that we got a chance to know, Patrick and I both got a chance to know between Hillary and Sherry, was that they're just so happy, and they're bringing some experience to us, not only Brighton area schools, but to Scranton, and not only bringing experience to us, but they're bringing those experiences to the kids and us. So they're making all of us better. And that's what we really look for when we try to hire someone. Who's going to make us better? How can we help them get better as well? So Sherry loves to laugh. When I leave Sherry's room, my cheeks hurt. That's the kind of laughter that we have, all in a good way. And Patrick and I couldn't be more happy that you both are here. And once again, we hope that we can help you just as much as you've already helped our staff. So once again, welcome to Brighton Area Schools. Glad that you're here.
Gavin Johnson, Brighton High School.
So we have a third of the teachers, but we only hired 3 new teachers this year. And I like to say that Brighton is attracting teachers that are not on their rookie contract. We're attracting teachers that are experienced, highly respected in their district. So we have 3 new teachers. All of them have several years of experience. Only 2 of them are here. The first one, Mrs. Megan George, she is a special educator. Again, I think Chris mentioned how hard it is to find quality special educators. So I went and sought out some students, and we share a student that I do a lot of support with. I said, what do you think so far? I love her. I wish I had her last year. So our kids already love her. And that's the most important thing, more important than a hiring process or her experiences at the last district, which was South Lyon. But your students already love you. So nice job. Keep it up, okay? And then this other guy, I had like 10 people pulling me aside and say, you got to hire this guy. You got to hire this guy. You got to hire this guy. Well, we hired him. And then I had another guy come up to me when I was having dinner in downtown Brighton and said, you just hired Pinckney's best teacher. And so Rod Beaton has been doing a great job. He's been helping our football staff. He's a social studies teacher, but he's an amazing teacher. I've heard nothing but fantastic things about him from our students first. And I actually asked one of his athletes, he said, he's pretty intense, he's pretty cool, and we love that guy. So I've got great responses from our kids, which I think is most important. So 2 great hires. I appreciate you both, and thank you guys.
Mrs. Deven couldn't be here tonight, but we have 2 teachers from the Bridge High School are here, Heather Coleman and Paige Heatherly. Just one. That's okay. So I'll introduce both. Heather, Spring Arbor University grad, taught both French and math, all the way up through AP Calc. 3 children, all graduates from Heartland High School, so she's very familiar with Brighton area schools. And Paige Heatherly, social studies teacher, a Brighton graduate, and is excited to be back at Brighton High School. And Colleen says that they're very excited to have both of these teachers join the Brighton Bridge High School staff. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to introduce our new teachers to you. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Staley. On behalf of the board, I would like to extend all of you a very heartfelt welcome to our district. We're very excited to have all of you be part of the Brighton Area Schools family. We're also very excited about the passion and the energy that you will bring to this position and the academic enrichment that our students will benefit from that. So again, on behalf of the board, we're all very excited. We're looking forward to a phenomenal year, and we hope you are equally as excited to be here. So thank you very much. And thanks for coming tonight. I know everyone's busy, and it means a lot for us to see your faces and welcome you to the district. So thank you. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm just going to take a few minutes here to just talk a little bit about the beginning of the year. Obviously, we started school last week and wanted to give a few updates for the board. Should I wait a second? How about I wait just a quick second here and then oh, yeah. All right. Okay, so now that we have our technologies all set, technology team's doing a great job. I'm going to do a little bit more detail, put some stuff up on the board, and just share a little bit of information each month about some things that are going on across the district. This one, I'm just going to talk briefly about the first week of school, just give you a little snapshot of enrollment, some test scores, briefly talk about safety, security, and then just share a little information on our distinguished alumni. Obviously, it's been a great first week of school with tons of energy across the district. Our teachers are doing a great job of laying the groundwork for success in the classroom, but also building connections, building relationships, which is one of our pillars within our strategic plan. There's a lot of things such as open houses, curriculum nights taking place. It's a busy time of year. And I know all of you are part of these different things. And then we were excited this week to be able to release our calendar. Shared that with all families, our 22-23 calendar. And then in my next newsletter, I will share the 3 years of calendar. So families will have 3 years worth of calendar, to do forward planning. Our Okay, yeah. It is great to have calendar. It's great for planning, and we all know that. This is just a brief snapshot. This is not FTE. This is number of people that are in our system at this time at each level. But as you look at it, high school is around 2,000 still. Our Scranton and Maltby are in that second half of the 800s, 830, 825. Some of them that stood out, Hawkins has jumped up to being our largest elementary school this year, which is a shift. There's some new neighborhoods over there, but their population is large. Horning has been our largest for some time. We did not accept a lot of school of choice at Horning because of it. We shifted those folks elsewhere because there is a high demand to come to the district. And both Hilton and Spencer are over 500 as well. So we're over 500 at all of our elementary schools, which I think is really a sign that we are a destination district. Bridge has 91 students currently, but that number typically goes up throughout the school year. Some of those come from that high school number as well as elsewhere, but the Bridge is doing well also. So that's just a snapshot of enrollment. Our count day will be at the beginning of October, and that's when we'll get FTE, because in that 2007 number at the high school, some of those students are consortium students that come here for a partial day. So we'll get you those numbers when we get closer to it, but enrollment looks very steady as a district, which is good news. Test scores. So if you've been reading any headlines across the state, actually across the nation this year, what you're going to find is that there's a theme in almost every article, and that's that scores are down fairly significantly from pre-pandemic to post-pandemic, almost everywhere in the country, here in the state, county, across the nation. But we buck that trend here as a school district, and we're really proud of the work of our students, of our teachers, and of our parents during the pandemic to keep the focus on student learning. From the state of Michigan, SAT is what we identified in our strategic plan as our top indicator of success as a school district. And it's a time-honored test. It's one that has been around for many years. There's a great deal of validity to it. It has withstood the challenges that have come over the years. So it's a very valid test. And we used career readiness, college and career readiness as our benchmark. And when we look at 2018-19 to 2021-22, across the state of Michigan, the number of students that met proficiency standards in English and in math went down by 5.8% across the state of Michigan, 8.3% in the county. And we had identified when we were doing our strategic planning a group of 11 of the highest performing school districts in the state of Michigan, people that we said we want to perform at that level with our students. And in that group, they averaged 10.4% down during that time. We actually were not able to find another school district that went up during that 18-19 to 21-22, but the Brighton area schools did. We actually moved forward during 2021 and in 21-22. So again, I just want to say thank you to Dr. Mosier and all the curriculum team, our teachers, our staff. We got a long way to go, but if we're able to hold strong during the pandemic, imagine what we can do now that we're really in full stride. So another part that's bucking a national trend is third grade reading in this state. There's a third grade reading law that's in place for students that are off track. And these are students that are eligible for retention based on their reading scores. And this is a major initiative in this state. 18-19, they did not actually hold anybody back that year, but they identified who would have been held back. And there were 4.1% of students in the state of Michigan that were eligible for retention. The next year, 4.8. And in 2021-22, it was 5.8%. During that time period, Dr. Mosier, am I correct that we have had 0 students in the Brighton area schools that have been eligible for retention? So again, kudos to our curriculum team, to our students, parents, and everybody who's been involved with this. Again, got a long way to go. We all know that our bar is much higher than this, but we're seeing some positive things, and I think that we made some good strides under some pretty adverse conditions. So I wanted to share that. I think that's some really good news. Safety and security is a big topic. The board, we're going to be going into closed session later to answer some questions about this. There's been a number of updates on this. Security staffing, we have 3 police liaisons. We have 2 that are active. We have Officer Bell at the high school and Bridge, and we have Deputy Schuster from the Livingston County Sheriff's Department that is at Scranton and serves in other buildings. And then we have Officer Mike Mitchell, who's retired from the city police, that is at Malpe. And then we've also added 4 officers, all are retired law enforcement at the elementary level. And that is going well. We're working out some of the technology things at the beginning, just to, making a few adjustments at the beginning, but it is off to a good start, and really pleased with what's going on there. We had quite a bit of training last year, but we had a district-wide training as we came back this year. That training continues. We're also planning with the training, we are going to be doing what are called tabletop exercises. We're going to be doing one first with our principals in October. We have our emergency manager from the county that's going to be coming in. And what they'll do is they'll walk through scenarios, and we have to be able to respond. And it's a really cutting edge way of doing training. And Officer Bell, Deputy Schuster have been heavily involved with this, but we're going to be doing that with our leaders. And then we'll be starting to do groups of teachers and that as well. So the training's going really well. Another thing we're going to be doing different with drills is working to make them count, really making them valuable. It's one of the critiques is that sometimes people just go through the motions because they know they have such a forward notice that we're going to have a drill. We're going to have a little bit less notice about some of the drills this year, and then they're also going to modify some of the conditions. For example, say we have a fire drill. Maybe they block an entrance, and the students and staff have to make an adjustment. Say, okay, where would we go now? Some things just to make sure that we're nimble, that we think about other situations that may be coming. But this, we have a group that continues to meet and work to improve. Officer Bell and Deputy Schuster are leading this group, and we're going to talk about that in closed session and answer questions from the board about some of the more intricate things with the security plan. And then I just wanted, you've seen this in the paper, but I want to put this out there. We have launched our Distinguished Alumni Program as a district, the Distinguished Alumni Wall of Fame, which will be at the high school. And we have a whole group. We've worked on this. We had 23 outstanding applicants, and we chose 3 for our inaugural class. And we have selected Drew Henson of the class of 1998, Dave Llewellyn from the class of 1975, and Kate Lawrence from the class of 1976 is our first 3 honorees. And we will be having a Distinguished Alumni Ceremony on October 20th, and that will be held in the STEAM Center at the high school. So that's a little bit of what's going on. Here's some of the things coming up. We're going to give a quick update on policy, but we have 3 more meetings. We've had 3 meetings already about policy as we transition from Neola to Troon, but we have 3 more policy committee meetings with the board. All of these are all live streamed and videoed if you want to go back and look at those, if you want to be participating in that. But this is continuing to review and evaluate. A vote would come at a later time. Home football this week, it is youth night. So bring your kids out to that. Pick weeks at the end of the month, as Amber shared, and then homecoming is right after that. So it's going to be a really exciting start to the year. We're off to a good start and looking forward to a great year. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Allah.
Thank you.
And I also want to point out and highlight, it's obviously these last couple of years have been challenging for, everyone. And it's very encouraging to see that our district has bucked the trend that across the board that many districts have experienced. And not only have we held our own, but we've actually improved relative to the pre-pandemic. And I think that speaks volumes to the hard work and dedication of our staff in the district, the grit of our students who, refuse to allow a pandemic to, thwart their educational growth. And it's very encouraging, to see, that progress is being made, notwithstanding those obviously difficult circumstances. And it certainly bodes well for going forward and in a normal school year and hopefully can see that, same, it would actually increase significant growth. So that was very encouraging to see. Thank you for that. All right. That takes us to the call to the public. If there's anyone here this evening that would like to address the board, this is your opportunity to do so. There are cards at the back table, and we ask that you fill out one of the cards, put it in the box there to the left of Mr. Scaling. I will call your name, at which point you can go to the podium and address the board. You will have 3 minutes. When you have 30 seconds left in your presentation, your statement, Dr. Krebs will give you the yellow card as a warning, and then when your 3 minutes is up, she will give you the red card. So the first one is Jennifer Marks. And then Jason Ringett will be next.
Good evening, Jennifer Marks. I'm a parent in the district. Do I still give you my address? 8365 Hilton. You got it? Okay. So I just wanted to start out by first thanking the district and the board for continuing the Patriot Week education. I think it's really important. It puts us above some of the other districts that I know with kids in, and I really appreciate it as a parent. So I love that we have that tradition, and I would say let's keep it up. The second thing I wanted to talk about tonight is fentanyl, which you're probably all aware. You have young people in your lives, I'm sure. And as a parent, I'm getting really concerned that it is only a matter of time before we have something like this happen in our community. So within 12 months, 20 to 21, there were over 100,000 people that died from drug overdose or poisoning. And over 2/3 of that is related to synthetic opioids or fentanyl. The issue with fentanyl is that it's now the leading cause of death for individuals 18 to 45. And unfortunately, that's moving down. Teens are getting access to this stuff on Snapchat, TikTok. They think they're buying, in many cases, things that they recognize: Percocet, Vicodin. Not that they should be purchasing these, but they believe that they're legitimate medications and they take it once. And unfortunately, one time is frequently too much because you don't recover often. So my concern is that as a district or as a community, perhaps we could look into some type of education. I've done a lot of research over the summer, and there are district examples. I'm happy to share that, places around the country that have had campaigns, as well as a lot of nonprofit organizations that have frequently, unfortunately, been born out of tragedy, but they're available to offer services. They're 501c3s and 4s typically, that can share their methodology and in some cases even bring presentations to the district. I know last year at the high school, we had a lot of conversations in PTO meetings about the need to bring back some of the vaping seminars that we did pre-COVID that were required for student athletes and all freshmen, I believe, when my son started there. And that had to go away because of pandemic rules. But, and maybe they're talking about it at the high school. I don't have a high schooler now, so I could be unaware. And if you are, thank you. But if not, I'd just like to bring that to the district and the board for consideration. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. And then after Mr. Ringett will be Nicole Colors.
I'd like to say the Scranton principals and the deputy over there are doing a great job. And I just hope that we can go from 4 minutes to 5 to 6 minutes for kids in between classes to get more time, because my daughter says 4 minutes isn't working. But you're doing a great job, sir. Because of rebellion, the Bible says, 2 Corinthians 3, their minds were blinded. 2 Corinthians 4 says, the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelievers. There's a veil. There's a blindness over the minds and the leaders and the politicians. The Bible teaches Jesus Christ. He said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Outside of Christ, there's no ultimate truth. DEI needs to be eliminated. Violates Article 1, Section 26 of the Michigan Constitution. It's unconstitutional in our schools to have discrimination and to have preferential treatment over one race or the other. DEI positions are unconstitutional. Our students need to be taught academics and skilled trades to have a great future for our kids. Everyone should be treated equally. Everyone should be respected equally. Anyone who bullies another kid in any way should be suspended from the district permanently. American Constitution civics should be the foundation taught here in the next generation to know how that our government doesn't get to act like they did throughout 2020. Title IX is a guidance. It's not law. The U.S. Board of Education and the U.S. Agriculture do not make laws. You might want to read the U.S. Constitution. We have 3 branches of government. Legislative makes laws, executive carries out laws, and the judicial evaluates laws. The Florida Public Education sent a letter to K through 12th grade schools telling the schools to disregard the Biden administration's rules. Public revision on Title IX money prohibits discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity. Both the U.S. Department of Education and the U.S. Agriculture has threatened to withhold funds to U.S. institutions if they fail to implement the new revisions. Brighton schools can disregard these revisions because they are only a guidance and they do not force laws. They are not binding, so do not modify your practice or procedures. Based on these documents, they do not make laws, only Congress does. Nothing in these law documents gives biological males access to female restrooms, locker rooms, or co-ed sports. Didn't we see this before with Brighton pushing illegal mask mandates, guidelines, and recommendations on our kids in 21-22 school year? Horacio Sanchez is another controversial figure, has nothing to do with educating our kids in math, science, reading, writing to make them successful after graduating from Brighton schools. Letting the teachers union have offices within the schools breaking state law. When is the school board going to take action and remove them? When is the school board going to take away the superintendent emergency power? CRT, DEI is nothing more than reverse discrimination. You cannot use reverse discrimination to eradicate racism. It's nothing more than dividing our children and turning them against each other. It's teaching Marxist ideology, replacing hard academics, not learning science, mathematics, just learning how to hate white people, how to hate this country. The radical curriculum, crap, CRT, DEI, and SEL is progressive socialism, indoctrinating our kids in what to think, not teaching them how to think. Having our kids learn this isn't about tolerance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Nicole Colors. Happy 2022-2023 school year. I have 3 very excited and exhausted children every day. Smiles galore. I just had a comment about the security. I don't know the logistics of doing this, but is there any option to introduce all of the school resource officers to all of the students? Just as a way to present another safe person. It's just a thought I had. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, is there anyone else who would like to address the board or call to the public? Okay, seeing none, that closes the call to the public and moves us into the 4-action portion of our agenda. Item A, regular meeting minutes of August 8, 2022. Do we have a motion to approve? So moved. Moved by Mr. Stahl. Support by Ms. Reed. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes 6-0 with 1 abstention. Right? You were
Yes,
absent.
I was absent on the 8th. Thank you.
6-0. All right, that moves us to item B, which is approval of the meeting minutes of August 29, 2022. Do we have a motion? So moved.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Stahl, supported by Dr. Krebs. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to the special meeting minutes of September 6, 2022. Do we have a motion?
Support.
Moved by Ms. Mitchell, supported by Dr. Krebs. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays? That passes 7-0.
Shouldn't that be 1 abstention?
It should.
Oh, my apologies, 6-0 with 1 abstention. All right, that moves us to item D, the 2022 MASB call for delegates. Do we have a motion for the 2022 MASB call for delegates?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Krebs.
Support.
Support by Ms. Mitchell. Any discussion?
So we need to have a volunteer for this now, right?
We need to have a volunteer and we also have to designate an alternate. Now, I will say that, so as a district, we have a voting, we are able to identify a voting delegate at the MSBA MASB conference. It just so happens that this, the date now, this Thursday, October 20th, also coincides with the Alumni Wall of Fame, the Alumni Hall of Fame ceremony. So I would suggest, I mean, I would imagine that everyone would, we would all like to be able to attend that ceremony. So I don't know, last year's STAR, they were allowing designated delegates to vote by Zoom. And so would you contact MASB and find out if that's an option, and just let them know that, we have a conflict because of, obviously a significant event that, that many or all the board members would like to attend on that same night. And then if they are allowing a Zoom participation and voting at the conference, then whoever, the delegate is can opt for that option and still be here for the ceremony. So does anyone would like to volunteer? I'm Mr. Stahl, all right. So Mr. Stahl would like to volunteer. Anyone want to be the alternate?
I'll be the alternate.
All right. Thank you, Laura. So we got a motion for Mr. Stahl as the delegate and Ms. Mitchell as the alternate. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes 7-0. That moves us to item E, which is the non-affiliated pay increases. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Moved by Mr. Stahl, supported by Dr. Krebs. Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. I talked to Dr. Outlaw about this, but I just want to get this on record. So when we looked at the non-affiliated list last time, that was in February of 21, it was a much longer list. So this list seems much shorter. Can you say more about why that is?
Sure. It's there's two groups that are removed from this. One is Totspot, which was addressed, I believe, in the beginning of the summer with Mr. Ingleton. It's through grants. Their wages have already been adjusted. That needed to happen for us to be able to run Totspot. And then the other was the Bridge. Those are the two groups that have been removed, and they were their pay was adjusted to match the bottom of the scale for our BHS teachers or for our district teachers. So those are the two groups that are not on the list that were on it in 2021.
So for clarification, this is similar to kind of some of the other contracts where the lower end pay.
Correct. In Totspot,
Totspot
it was
is-
very similar where we had wages for some of our support staff that were very low. So the average, Mr. Ingleton shared that the average, so the increase was anywhere from 9.5% over the time to an 18, I think it was 18.2%. So the 18.2% would be some of those probably that were at the very bottom, similar to what we saw with Parapros with the BESPA contract.
Okay. Were there any other differences? Just the two groups, because I thought there was.
And then the educational assistants would have been the only other group that may have been on that list, and they're grant funded, and that was also already addressed. That was addressed earlier this summer. Am I missing? What's the other?
Mr. Mitchell?
Oh,
Yeah, and I'm assuming that he's on the list. That's why I didn't. So, yeah, do you want to make?
Should be, yes. It was just a
Yeah, we-
site that we identified today.
So if you could include Officer Mike Mitchell on that, he was somebody that was left off that list, and he's the only one that was not addressed in the whole district.
Everything else then is the same as what it was when we voted in February 21 for the non-affiliated.
Correct.
Thank you.
February of 21 or 22?
21, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah, that we settled with the BEA it was still 2020, and I think that it was the very beginning of, the 21 calendar year.
Where's Richard Bruner?
Who was that?
Food Service?
Oh, Browder. Richard Browder is a member of the BASA unit, so he's in the administrator union.
Just a clarification on the other two groups that you mentioned that were settled earlier. Was that something we've already seen come through, or was on our list from before, or how was that shown, or is it just something that you handled at that time?
I think because it was coming through grants, and so I think some of those things were addressed internally.
So
So-
it really didn't need our approval or anything like that.
I think so.
So those are those on scale?
The educational assistants?
Yeah.
They follow a BESPA contract, so we stay in line with that. The difference is for our educational assistants, they need to have schooling, like 60 credit hours or more because of our Title I building. So there's a few more requirements they have than sometimes some of our BESPA positions.
And is that just for a year?
It's until, as long as we have grants. So we keep them, they work with our students in WIN time and RTI and reading, math, and they support using like pull-out services and curriculum in that way mostly. And then we use them at the middle school with support in the classroom in like a teacher aid, I'd call it, and then help with students in there in math and ELA courses specifically. They're specific for content.
Should we come to the end of those grants and they're doing something that's good for us in those positions, would that be something that you bring to us that we could consider?
Oh, yeah.
Because I know that sometimes you find people that are just knocking it out of the park, and just because we can't put them on a grant, maybe we need to find a way to fund them. Just a thought, something to bring to us at that time.
And just as a, did you have something, Mr. Conley? Go.
President first, go ahead.
Well, I just on this topic, on this,
Yes, sir.
on the topic of the EA. So as I understand, there were additional grants that were awarded this past summer that increased their pay, or was it just a renewal of the previous grants?
These are the Title I grants that we use our funding for and our 31A at-risk funding that we use to pay that ever since I've been here and longer, you've always used your funding that way, specifically for that. And similar like our para positions, things like that, just hard to find people. We were paying them about $14 an hour. And we matched it to a BESPA contract. So whatever kind of in that BESPA area, we matched it to that.
Okay, and so the district does not subsidize any portion of the EA's
No.
salary? It's exclusively from the grant, and we are able, through those grant funds, to match it with the BESPA contract that was approved?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, Mr. Conley.
So what's the total cost of this agreement to the district? The $5.5 million, I think we already approved.
Oh, it was already included in
This was included.
all of these, they were in the total numbers.
They were in the numbers already.
That was all in.
Okay, so then by.
There's no
percentage,
added cost.
These positions just weren't included in the agreement. We missed it.
Correct. The reason why they're not affiliated because they're not in unions. These are non-union employees, so they're hanging out there and they don't get included when BASA, BESPA, BEA get approved. So that's why you have to do this as a separate group.
Did we know we were going to have to do that?
Yes, it was in our group. We did this in 2021 also, the last time we settled this. And they were included in our discussions of overall numbers. All employees other than myself were included. And I'm not part of this, obviously.
That's fine. All right. So in this one then, just Chad, because you're here, not picking you out. So in this agreement, we hired you, what, a year ago or so?
Year and a half ago.
Okay. So in
February of 21.
that 1.5 years then, so when you originally started working for us, what increases in pay have you gotten? How many different increases?
I don't know.
Okay, all right. So in this contract, when we increased your pay, with this amount over 3 years, how much does that equal over 3 years?
So for all of the employees that are on it, there are, it matches what was just done with the BEA and the BASA unit that was approved at the last meeting, which is a 4.5 for 2022-23, a 3.5 for 23-24, and a 2% for 24-25. So they would be matching with the people that have already been approved.
That's your 10% number. So basically, in that, you look at that, so is that comes out to on your scale? When we hired, how much do we pay you a year, Mr. Scaling?
So our administrators, I don't know the exact number right offhand, but they're all in around 130,000, somewhere in that range, at the upper level there.
Okay, so at 130,000, what does this pay increase do for them? What does that equal?
So if it's 10%
But it's split over 3 years.
over 3 years, it increases to 10% at the end of
And we fund that pay increase, this is where I'm getting to, we fund that pay increase from per pupil funding, correct?
Correct.
Is there any guarantee on per pupil funding for next year?
So legislature can do, every year they could go up, down. They can do that. Since Proposal A was passed and implemented in the 94-95 school year, there's been 1 year where it has gone backwards. And that was in, I believe, 2010 or 11, 1 year where it went backwards. It's really based on revenue estimation. And the revenue estimation was strong, and it's even gotten stronger during the summertime. The school aid fund is very healthy right now, and all of those considerations went into play before we even began to negotiate. So considerable research was done. I've had conversations directly with our legislatures on this about where we're headed. Obviously every year it can adjust, but in the projections that were used for this, they were very conservative in their estimates. We're probably likely to be above what the estimates are that we used to come up with our numbers here.
So in this case, so $13,000 increase, it's not anybody specific, just he's here. So in the first year and a half, were there any other increases in pay besides this $13,000?
So in 2021, in 2021, the increase was a 2% for all employees other than the BA. The BEA got a 2.2%. And then in year 2, it was a 1.5% increase for folks that were on that.
So does that mean 3.5%?
Yeah, 3.5% over that 2 years for the people that were here.
So in Mr. Scaling's case, a year and a half of employment, would he got that 3% also?
No, he joined during 2021.
But the ones from 2020 would have.
Right, had they been here previous to that, correct?
This motion, right, Dr. Motion. Congratulations. Big deal. So she would have got the 3% and then got the 10%.
Correct.
Okay. So, but again, from per pupil funding. So when we look at the per pupil funding right now, we had increases of $400 or $500.
No, over the last 2 years, it's been over $1,000 a pupil that we've received, which is why you're seeing larger increases across the entire state. It's because of a lot of that.
But again, let's just use this $130,000 salary plus 3%, plus 2%, maybe 3 plus 10. And then we have to carry the total overhead. So in that particular salary, if you add all that up today, what's our total cost for the employee? So if you have 130, then we have another 30,000 in benefits, right?
Yeah, for any employee, there's retirement, you have FICA, there's medical, and that's for any employee in different positions.
So it'd be fair to say in this situation that we're plus 13, 130, 145, say 150 plus the maybe 40,000. So maybe between 190,000-ish all in for an administrator. Wouldn't be too far off though.
Sure.
Okay. So 190,000 per person. Now, the per pupil funding you mentioned was as high as $1,000 now, up over the last 2 years.
Correct.
Okay, so in our district, how much does that equal? What did we bring in additional funding in the last 2 years?
So I don't have that number right offhand.
5,800 students, right?
We do, but there's, as you know, we have different sources of income here. We know about those things. We also received quite a bit of categorical money either directly from the federal government, the state government, categories for security, for mental health. So that's why I'm not able to give you the exact dollar increase.
Money for payroll, though. It wouldn't necessarily go into the general fund. Where per pupil funding goes in the general fund and can be distributed in payroll. Some of the special money that came in can't be used except for special things, right? So I wouldn't even talk about that for a minute. So if you had just to roll the dice or put a calculator, this is your guys' job, it's not mine. What did we bring in additional? Let's say our budget now is, what are we at? 100 million, right?
It's approximately.
Okay, so our budget's approximately $100 million. So in this last 2 years that we've seen this, 15% increase, give or take, 13 for sure, 14. So in that, what is our increase in per pupil funding over the last 2 years to add to our general fund balance? That's my question. And then I want to see how much of that went into payroll versus how much it went into programs outside of payroll. That's my question, why I'm asking. I'm going to go with this. Obviously, this is part of what was agreed to, where I didn't go with the other part, but these folks deserve what we agreed to pay them. That's not an issue. So can you give me that number? How much did our income go up to pay these wages?
Yeah, I mean, you could do rough math, 1,000
that's
times
fine.
5,800.
Yeah.
I mean, there's your rough math. So, you're about, was that 6 million? Approximately 6 million, is that right? 5.8 million.
Okay. And that, again, that's over the period of the 2 years or just 1 year?
Well, each year, if it's 1,000 above where it was, so this year would be 5.8 million. A year ago would have been whatever that 500, so it'd probably be half. So probably about in the last 2 years, probably went up, 8 million. And I'm doing rough math. Mr. Angleter would have it at his fingertips here.
Tonight, by the way, this is important.
There's a family emergency, so.
So in these contracts that we agreed to, that the board agreed to and the school agreed to, how much of that did we spend in the contracts? Of this $8 million increase?
About 65%. Am I correct, Mr. Scaling? About 65%.
Okay.
And that's for all employees,
So in
all
that-
employees other than myself.
All right, so then what are we doing with the rest of the money? Where's that going?
Books, buses, lights, just everything in the district. And a typical budget, 80 to 85% of your budget is staffing, and that's uniform. And it's been that way in education for many years, and that really hasn't changed. So we're very much in line. I think we're right around that 80%, just like probably of most districts in the state, the country probably.
So if in fact the per pupil funding declined because the state has an issue or can't meet up with the obligations, then how would we pay these increases in salaries? Just our fund equity? We use our-
Yeah, so if there was a dramatic shift, then we would have to negotiate. We'd have to go back and we'd have to. But the likelihood of that is probably it is extremely slim in the next 3 years. So, but down the road, you never know. 5-6 years. I mean, we've all been through what took place after the recession in 2008.
So in the contract, though, this is a locked-in contract that we are agreeing to for 3 years for all staff of Brighton area schools.
Correct.
Well, that seems like a pretty good sweetheart deal when we can't control the funding that comes in. So I'm good with it. I understand we have enough money to pay those bills today, but it just seems pretty good. And I would have rather seen a shorter duration contract. And I also, at the time, I guess we can talk about some of that, but I would have rather seen a shorter duration on the contract. I'll leave it at that. So thank you.
Sure. Any other discussion? Mr. Trump?
Chad, could you tell me, please, how much Kelsey Hudson, the pool assistant, gets paid an hour?
I can't, I just don't have that in front of me at the moment. No.
You don't have it on your computer? What do you think it might be?
I honestly don't know. I don't know what her hourly wage would be.
mean, is it $15 an hour? Is it 20?
No, it's probably somewhere about 14 to 16 would be my guess. I don't know.
Okay. Could we find that out?
Sure.
Because it would be very disappointing to hear that our parapros are getting what, Liz, how much did you say they're getting on their grants?
They're in the middle of I don't know the best, listen, I'm giving you one number. There's 5 numbers on there. The middle number is 1712.
No, what was the $14 an hour?
They used to get paid was 14 something an hour.
Right, and now they're up to,
1712.
okay. So our pool assistant could be making the same as a parapro. Is that a realistic thing?
Potentially, yeah. In the ballpark.
Could you tell me what a pool assistant does?
Me specifically? No, I can tell you what
I mean, you're the guy in charge of
No,
HR.
I understand that, but yeah, I mean, they manage the pool, they help out with the facilitation of how the pool runs.
But I thought Jason Black did that.
He's the coordinator of the whole thing. He needs assistance to help him. Now, what their daily duties are specifically, no, I don't know exactly what they do. But they're hired in to assist with the pool and the coordination of the pool.
Okay, I'd like to know what that wage would be, please. Thank you.
Thank you. I might be, no, I don't think I'm wrong. In this particular round of contracts, there were no board members involved, correct?
Other than full board sessions of strategy sessions and closed sessions that we had throughout this.
Yeah, but negotiation process, there were no board members. Past years, we had board members and principals and people that we hired. Were there any of those people involved, the principals from the schools? And this year there was? Okay, but no board members. But past years, we had board members involved. So I guess my question is, why was not a board member invited to participate in this contract negotiation?
Well,
That's right, yeah, that's right.
yeah, my concern is that we obviously, there was a lot of these issues were discussed in closed session, and I don't.
Not that one. Not that one.
I think I want to be careful disclosing information that we discussed in closed session.
Fine. Understood. Appreciate that. So then I'll go back to what I was heading towards. So Chad, technically, who was on the negotiating team?
Myself, Rod Green, Mike Ingleter, Gavin Johnson, and Scott Brenner.
So on this list I see here in front of me, which it puts me down that one, you're getting a raise. Mike Ingleter's getting a raise. And you're on the negotiating team that got those raises. So again, I'm just bringing it up for consideration and to talk about. And I would, again, the board agreed to this long-term 3-year contract. It's a done deal. But again, I think it could have had other people involved in it also. I'll leave it at that, and thank you, Roger.
Sure.
If I could
Ms. Reed?
ask a question there. This is, the motion that's in front of us tonight this isn't a negotiated union contract like the other ones. This is not, the negotiating party didn't sit
That's
down with
done.
each of these folks to determine what pay raises would be offered. The administration, I think, in line with the direction we as the board provided, has offered that they will provide these pay raises that are similar to what we have done for others in fairness, yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
And just before we vote, I'm going to be
Sure.
abstaining from this vote based on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to follow up. It's my understanding, Dr. Outlaw, that when we approved the budget for 2022, 2023, it included, obviously, there was planning that was involved, which at that point in time, we didn't necessarily know what the total per pupil would be for 2022, 2023. And it was my understanding that within that proposed budget, it included funding that we anticipated would ultimately be negotiated as part of the raises that would be given to our bargaining units and to the non-affiliated. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And we had robust discussion about the budgeted process, how the numbers were determined, and obviously that was approved. And it included the pool of money, if you will, that was going to be allocated and proposed as part of our negotiations, right?
Correct.
And we as a board set an overall pool that we were willing to commit to. And as I understand it, the raises that have already been approved as part of the bargaining units, the 3 bargaining units, and this these non-affiliated employees, if it's approved, all comes within the parameters that we set and the budget that we approve. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And on top of that, and through that process, it still left us with the projected revenue that we anticipated and the cost not only of our employees and staff, but all of our operations. We were still going to be adding several $1 million to our existing fund equity with that approved budget, correct? Okay, thank you. All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes 7-0.
601.
I'm sorry, 601. Ms. Mitchell abstaining. All right. That moves us into our, for future action, item A, policy transition. Just want to touch base on that real quick, Dr. Outlaw? Or?
I mentioned it briefly in the update. Were there any other questions on that? Just mentioned that there's already been 3 policy committee meetings that the full board has worked on. Again, those are recorded. Those are live streamed. We have 3 coming up, 15th, 19th, and 22nd. On the 22nd, I just made an adjustment to the calendar to add a little bit of bond committee, a couple updates there as well, if that's okay with everyone.
I'm sorry, which meeting?
The 22nd, that would be the 3rd of the 3 that are planned. There's something that we're working on right now. There's a timeline that we're trying to iron out, but we think we're going to need to discuss it with the board. So we're hoping to talk about that at the beginning of the 22nd meeting. I did. Yes. Yep. I did that today. So anyway, just wanted to let you know that that work continues. And when it's done, when it's ready to go, then it will come for the full board to consider and vote. So, and that'll go as long as it needs to go until everybody's happy with where we're at. So, okay.
Thank you. And then
Okay.
Next item is the strategic plan homeroom advisory.
I just briefly, at our last meeting, there was a little bit of conversation about the concept of advisory homeroom, and was asked to put this back on here just for a little bit of a follow-up on it. I have Mr. Renner here tonight as well from the middle school, but wanted to just share that in our strategic planning, there's a significant amount of effort that's going to focus around careers, career development, career planning, career exploration. There's also a number of things that have to do with the overall well-being of students, things like habits of the mind, study skills, stress management. There's a number of things that are part of our strategic plan, but we needed a spot where we can deliver this. So as part of this process, we've challenged all of our administrators to find a spot where we can infuse some of these type of lessons. At the elementary school, they have a built-in homeroom, K-6, where it's a natural. As we talked about in our last meeting, the middle school is piloting a program where they're doing 15 minutes. I've shared a document that overviews the week long. The middle school is sharing that with parents the week before of what the lessons are. These are just to give everybody a sample of it. For the next week, get to know your name game, middle school expectations done by the principals, counseling, introduction, procedures and supports. Thursday, middle school expectations part 2, and then there is a team building game on Friday. These are 15 minutes long. They have a full month of it. They're being very transparent about what's happening before. And there was a question last week if parents can opt out of it. Of course, if a parent says, I don't want my son to be there for, Thursday, then you can exclude your son. There's no agendas here other than things that are going to help students be successful. And are there any other questions?
Mr. Runner, maybe you can answer this. Why is this a J-Pups advisory?
I believe the J Pups just comes from the Scranton, the junior pups. I think it was there before I came.
Aren't these kids supposed to be getting ready for high school at Scranton?
Are the kids getting ready for high school?
That's the mission at Scranton, is to get them ready to go to the high school, isn't it?
Well, the goal is to get them ready for the current grade that they're in. Obviously, the skill set that we're trying to provide is that they will be prepared for high school. So, yes.
So being referred to as a J-Pup is,
I can answer that. I went to Scranton Middle School, a long time ago, and I was a J-Pup. That's the official mascot of Scranton. So that's where it comes from. They didn't invent this.
no, I get
No, I
that.
know.
But my point being is, that's the feel-good thing, everybody likes. But these kids are almost in high school. Now, I can understand elementary schools being J-Pups and the cute little names and that kind of stuff. But these kids are going to high school in the next year, and they're a J-Pup. I mean,
Wow. They were, there was two middle schools back in the olden days, and it was J-Pups was Scranton and Bull Pups was Maltby. I mean,
well, bull pups are certainly better than a J-Pup. But again, I just think it's a bit demeaning to the kids that they're considered a J-Pup. I mean, what's that, a junior puppy? Is that right? I mean,
I don't know what a junior puppy is.
I don't either. That's what I'm wondering. Well, that's why I'm asking what a J-Pup is.
It's been around.
I'm just saying, I mean,
It's pretty fun.
okay, thank you.
It was that way when I went there. I have one thing. Thank you. It was like that when I went there. Here.
Do you have any insecurity issues about being referred to as a bullpup?
Well,
I don't think so. I certainly wouldn't characterize you as having any insecurity issues stemming from being referred to as a J-pup.
I take that as something positive.
It is, it's very positive. I'm being
So-
very complimentary.
So on this, but I'm okay with call it Bulldogs advisory too. So let's work through that. Been that way for a long time. So on this, you brought up, again, not signaling out what this is or what it means. You said habits of the mind. Okay? Habits of the mind.
or healthy habits.
No. Use the word habits of the mind. That triggers a response for me that what does habits of the mind have to do with the 15-minute session now? And this is why I bring it up. I sat in on some of the visiting instructional people that came in and gave our teachers instruction last year. And I listened to some, and some sounded pretty good. Really did. So, but this habits of the mind, what is it in middle school that we're trying to do specifically? And I understand wanting to have healthy, this health and wellness, I got it. But specifically when we say that, what are we trying to accomplish there?
Yeah. Habits of the Mind is a book that was a slip on my part as I was talking through it. It's actually directly in our strategic plan, and it says healthy habits. So I said Habits of the Mind, which is a book, which is actually a great book, and there's tons of great things in it for students, and I think it's awesome. But healthy habits is what's in the strategic plan, and that's what it's referencing. That's what I should have said.
All right, any further questions? All right, that closes the discussion and our future action section and
I have
moves
one
us.
question. I apologize.
Sure.
Back when we addressed the agenda, I have something in the marijuana stuff from the city, and I missed it. I'm gonna do it after we get back from closed session. Can we do it then, with the board report, if possible? It's time sensitive.
Okay, go ahead, you can address it now.
It's time sensitive, okay. If I may, I'll pass these out to the board members. Somebody's down. Somebody's down. Thank you. They're just.
Well, and I don't know if this, I don't know if I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but I think, while we're on this topic, as sort of a carryover to the strategic plan homeroom advisory, I don't know to what extent there has been consideration of the inclusion of any discussion about, the warning against, drugs that was raised this evening. I mean, obviously the fentanyl is a major issue. And not only, I would say it's not even really limited to the high school student age. I mean, I've seen where they're, now they're making them into colored candy that, for potentially little kids. And so, yeah, one of the things, in terms of some of the thinking about topics for the advisory, if there's a way to incorporate, drug awareness, I think that would be an amazing topic to, it doesn't have to be every day, but I certainly think, to me, that would be the type of a topic that could be very helpful and could be very meaningful for, because those kids at that age are very impressionable. And so anyway, I don't know if that's what you were attempting to address.
It'll get there. It'll get there. This would be a good part of that because I truly believe in this, the earlier education. I know our principals are on it and trying to, we've had enough. I think everybody's families have been affected by something along this. So whatever we can do to empower our youth and not go down those roads, I think there's anybody here that would not support that. So I support that. In this is kind of an idea like that. This is what's going on in our city right now, what discussions are. So, and these are just things I threw down with my spellings off or whatever it's maybe. So talking points again, we a while back agreed and did a resolution, which is community accepted now, and several of our local churches and institutions teamed up with it and thought it was a good move. Where we had a resolution that we didn't support marijuana in the city limits and people and the signs and, because our concerns are our youth, our health of our youth. But again, and with that support, it was voted down by city council 6-1. It was overwhelmingly said, okay, for City of Brighton, we're not going to do this. And then up came an idea from people outside of our community that sponsored putting it on the ballot, and it's on the ballot. So it's going to get voted on.
Is it on the ballot for the city?
It's on the ballot, yes, for November. And so it'll be city residents voting on it. It won't be if we live in Green Oak or Brighton Township or outside the city limits. It won't be voted on by us, including us property owners but we don't live in the city and we don't have property, you can't vote. So there are, going down my list here, can we still as a board stand firm on this issue as a group? Personally, my feelings on it, I absolutely don't want it in the city. In fact, I want it anywhere, but that's not my choice now. It's the law. It goes back, there are, through responsible people in the industry of real estate, I've been told that there's buildings that are considered or under contract, currently ready to go, Main Street and Main River both in the city limits. And the problem with this new deal is that the isolation of these operations, they have to have an acre, whatever it is for a park, and our park downtown is 0.8 of an acre. They can put it right next to it. In fact, they can put it in the stores that have current ice cream shops. So this creates a little different situation for all of us, that's going to be that close to our children. And the currently these are accurate numbers. There are 47 shops within 19.7 miles of us. Plymouth, Northville, South Lyon, 0 at this time. And then Whitmore Lake has 3, Ann Arbor 24, Ypsilanti 6, Flint 8. Pinckney now has, we don't know how many yet, right? For sure 1 or 2. And I believe, if you can believe it, one of the Pinckney stores within a public school that they acquired. So that's a pretty sad thing. Should have been bulldozed. And so, of course, Brighton is an attractive place to come. We have a great city. We have great things happening. And, our I-96 US 23 has always been, when I-96 came out, it changed how Brighton was used because we used to use Grand River out here, and Grand River was the main road, from Detroit to Lansing. Well, 96 came in, Brighton kind of went down a little, and I watched as stores changed and gas stations went out of business, and I saw that as a youth. And this time, our town is robust with growth and opportunity, and I believe a lot of that has to do with the superintendent reported on and the hard work that we're doing in the school system. And again, crediting our teachers, our parents, students working hard and working through that. It was everybody. It was has to fall on the whole group. Stuck it out basically. And even some disagreements up here. So looking at that, that's what makes our city so attractive to this industry. This is a thing. This is a big deal. And the people involved in the industry so far that I've heard the names of and everything, they're not from Brighton. They're from outside of our area looking to come and capitalize on the good things that are happening in our town. So, and now I can share with you this with accuracy. Our own Chamber of Commerce has some of these affiliations with these groups because discrimination-wise, they cannot not take them. I don't know that they sign them up and go and recruit them, but they're now sponsors of local chamber events. And firsthand, I can tell you that one of the largest ones sponsored the car show downtown, all concerts, and had to get involved. And I found out that, and they hadn't informed our other elected officials who were part of the sponsorship program that this operation was going to be the primary sponsor. So I was able to get the board who puts that program together to take a second offer, and I made the offer, so they didn't sponsor it. So it was sponsored by my wife and I instead of a pot operation. Now that's what it took to make sure it didn't happen, because that particular operation that runs the downtown concert series had to have the money to fund it, because the city now charges them to put the concerts on downtown. So there goes, advertising budget for X amount of time for our business. But that's fine, because it kept it out of town for one more year. So that's what's next. So we have to decide. I think we can make a decision. I mean, I don't know if it'll be up to Roger how he presents it, but I appreciate everybody's time on this important topic. I think it's a very serious issue. And in the meetings that I spoke to city council on this, and the meetings that I was very proud to bring forward a unanimous approval of this resolution to that. And that we stood strong on that, because our interest, obviously, in this community is the health and welfare of our youth. And adults can go wherever they need to go to find this stuff. So that's the news. It'll be on the ballot. And but I'd like us to, again, maintain our same approach on this that in our original resolution, even if we just agreed to our original resolution was good. Maybe that's the only approach we have to take.
Yeah, I mean, our resolution still stands, and right.
So maybe that's our statement. I think it's very important, if the rest of the board is okay with that, is that if I present that again in a meeting coming up, there's one tonight that I couldn't go to. But I'd like that authorization to be able to do that and present that.
I mean, it's a public record. Our resolution still stands. So it's the official statement by the board, and it can be published or disseminated. And
I think it meant a lot to the community. And I think, as we go forward, again, we've all have children and had children in the district, and we know the importance of this. And we also know, and I brought this up one meeting, I've had friends that had their children have to go through rehab, and I've had friends that had to do it was really hard. And some of them made it through, and I can say some of them didn't. And mostly later 20s, they seem to, and then we either lose them or they get through it to some degree. But the percentage of the comments are from everybody bringing this to the city. Oh, it's not a big deal. It's people's choice, and it's not going to be a big effect. It's not going to be negative. Well, families that I know, let's use a number, $100,000 a year to send their youth or their family member to rehabilitation. The percentage of those that after they go to these kind of treatments is not that high that are successful. And sometimes they fall back into it. So this issue about income is, it's a moot point, because one family member is 100,000. What about multiple family members that, and it could happen anyway, even if these facilities aren't open in our downtown. But I think that, and this thing about, Roger, you brought it up, I believe too, and how we use our 15 minutes at school in that fashion, in a very calculated way to not encourage the use of this stuff, but to explain some of the negatives. I had a parent in my office brought this to mind really closely. It was a friend of our family for years. Her son was just getting out of jail, and it all started when he was 14. It all started with marijuana. And then her son wound up in prison for 5 years because he was caught with substances he shouldn't have had, and he went to prison for it. It could have been, it said 5 to 40, she told me. So she was grateful he was getting out in 5. He wasn't a bad kid. He made the wrong choices, and this steered him in that direction. And that's firsthand. And I asked her if she'd come and speak to you, and she said she will. She'll come in and tell her story about her family and their local family. And they're hardworking, and and she works. I've seen her in different operations or our careers in our lifetime, and I know them. And so that hardship reminded me too of how important this is. And like I said, she's willing to come and talk. I asked her about her son. She said he probably won't be ready yet, but she said she would. So we'll plan in the future. Maybe we can talk to her and, continue this campaign to keep it out of our streets in our city. So thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Roger, I'd like to ask Officer Bell a question in regards to this whole thing.
This is what we can talk about during the close, we have security as a topic that we're about to enter into.
Yeah, but I'd rather talk about it publicly just because she's here and everybody is. Out of the drugs that Ms. Marks mentioned, are you aware of those in the high school?
I haven't seen them in the high school at all. I've seen them on the streets of Brighton, but not in my.
Not in our high school. And same way in the middle school in Scranton? So far, we're like, that right? I think that's a bit refreshing to hear. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but it only takes one. And it's-
I understand.
At the door.
Thank you, Bill. All right.
And Roger, thank you for letting me do it. Sure. Appreciate it.
Motion to enter into closed session for the purpose of discussing security planning.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Stahl,
Support.
supported by Dr. Krebs. Any discussion? All right, Ms. Ackermite, roll call, please.
Mr. Stahl?
Yes.
Dr. Krebs?
Yes.
Mrs. Mitchell? Mr. Trombley?
Yep.
Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes, that passes 7-0. All right, we're going to be going into closed session. Dr. Earl, are we going to go?
down, this can stay on.
Okay, so you're welcome. If anyone wants to stay, you are welcome to. We do have another item on our agenda after we come out of closed session, but we are going to retire here and closed session.
So it just has two round tables
Coming back up the steps again. I can only make so many flights a day.
We're not done yet. Sorry, kiddo.
We all feel
Not-
safe.
Not yet.
The director of IT, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Plan.
Yeah, I know this. If you don't mind, I'll do it. I just, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's so
And my most important job is this slide.
He's with Pat, but I'll do it if 10 to 11. If something comes out of it. I'm coming.
Yes, we know that. Thank you.
Are you going downstairs? What?
Remember, it's still recording.
I know. Oh, Star left her jacket. Oh, yeah.
It does.
Those are so great.
What?
Really. I know, and these are actually, they're actually three-dimensional, they're not stickers. Did you know that?
Oh,
They're
really?
actually wood.
They look
like
so
upside
nice. I was like, oh my God, look at us sprucing this
It's just
gloomy room up.
Yeah, right.
And it looks like new carpet too. I'm not very.
This is, yeah, this was in,
We did it last summer.
yeah, something like that, but yeah.
And putting that table in is nice.
Well, and these are all movable now,
Yeah.
and there's other ones, we would ruin the carpet by dragging them, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Have a good night.
You too. It looks very nice.
Well, this is really good, just trying to have this maybe freshen up to the rest of what we're doing around here. Yeah.
probably weasel the crumbs of ice cream out. She's probably good, right? Are you almost done? Yes.
Yes. I didn't like it stuff over here.
He's gonna be like a bunny.
You see this? I think it's awesome. That's cool.
Exactly what we want. Just like to be honest.
I love the Tot Spot logo. It's adorable.
They've done a great job.
Yeah.
And then there's something going to go over here, and then all the dog stuff's going to go over there.
Yeah, see, I was wondering if the dogs.
Yeah, that's right. So back up over there, and so, and then this is all going to get redone too. Stars already been working. They just are not quite on it yet. So it's coming together.
Okay, we're good. Oh, we did. Okay. All right, so we are back in open session now.
Motion to amend Article number 9, next regular, no, I'm sorry, 10. Action, security officer, bridge / administrative offices to also read at the high school.
Support.
So just to clarify, you're saying to approve 2 security officers as opposed to 1?
Correct.
All right, so motion by Mr. Stahl, support by Mr. Conley. Any discussion? This is just to amend the agenda. Okay.
Right.
Any further, any discussion? All those in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes 6-0. So that moves us to the, for action, item 10, security officer, bridge administrative offices, and high school. Do we have a motion for approval of that item?
So moved.
Support.
Moved by Ms. Reed, supported by Mr. Conley. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
I think it's a great step forward tonight, looking at this. Obviously, we have to budget through budgeting and make sure as we move forward on these plans. The vision I have is that this additional staffing within our schools for these measures will also translate to education to students of the real world environment, what they're facing and what they're going into. So I'd like to see as time we get this rolled out, to see what kind of programs that our law enforcement community can also be teaching to help our students with long-term goals and how to stay safe when they leave for college and those kind of things. So it's a little further reaching than just the immediate need, but also cover that, but have the extra kind of thought process in it that we can get more, because we're going to be paying. And the reality is that there'll be a lot of days they maybe have hours that they could spend on these programs for students if they're done their work and their routine is handled and they're there in between. And that's my vision, because they're not always on. Officers have a tough life because they're on. Once they click, punch the clock, it's like they're on. They never rest until they punch off the clock, and then it's hard on them. And in this way, what we're doing in the school at the high school level is lowering the burden on certain individuals. I mean, it's a high burden with the number of students we have in there. So, and I look forward to considering another certified officer at the high school, and active police officer besides the retired type of help, maybe for limited hours or whatever the board, we come up with a plan, the superintendent brings it back to us. But I think it's a great step forward in helping our students. But I believe if we do this right, we can also not only improve on what we are doing now on security, but we'll be able to help our students for long-range health and wellness as well. I think it fits into kind of another part of the vision. Besides, I think it's bigger than we think what could happen from this, if they're given a little bit of time to do that. If they're so busy that they can't, that's what it is. But I think that they have good sense about them, and everybody we have working now, that I heard a little, thing about the how the officers are working out, and so far it sounds like really good to me. And so let's keep it up. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I just want to thank everybody that worked on improving the security plans for the district. And I'm grateful for the administration and for Officer Bell and how they've brought forward those plans and continue to make investments in the safety and well-being of our students. And I'm happy to support this tonight for exactly those reasons. And I look forward to hearing back from the administration in another month or so on how things are doing with our new security plans. Thank you.
Anything further? Yeah, and I echo what has been discussed this evening, and I think it is important that, we view safety. Safety is always something we have to be consistently vigilant about. We can't ever rest on our laurels, and we have to be willing to adapt when we see that there is a deficiency or something that, we can improve upon. And to me, both of the security officers that we are considering this evening fit that adaptation. I think it absolutely is something we need to address. With respect to the high school, Officer Bell does an outstanding job, but it's a 500,000 square foot building. The support that she will have will enable her to do her job even better, and will provide the additional security, and I think will really be a tremendous asset at the high school.
I think it's real important that a lot of this data and information and making these decisions, even tonight, comes through her as the person with boots on the ground, having to look at the situation and analyze it. And I think that Alicia brought it up clearly that, there's people involved in overseeing and making the recommendations and stuff, but also we trust what she tells us. And I think that's very important that they know that we appreciate that. And like I said, as a community, we represent that. I think, like I said, we can disagree on other stuff, but I don't think there's any disagreement on this kind of stuff ever. I haven't seen one yet. So I think it's great. So I'm proud to be part of that.
All right. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? That passes 6-0. That concludes all of the items on our agenda this evening. Our next regular meeting will be Monday, October 10th at 7 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned.
On Thursday.